Hey guys, new video here. Haven't done one of these in a while, so let's just try this little one take action, see how it goes. It is March 31st, very early in the morning. It's 4 a.m. here. Just got done with my stream looking at all the Crucible stuff. I'm hyped. I am pretty hyped, guys. 8 out of 10. Especially if you're a bow enjoyer. If you guys play bow builds, well, congratulations. This is going to be a fantastic, like any kind of projectiles, you're in for a treat, okay? Melee players, well, maybe in 3.22. Okay, maybe you'll have your day in the future when grinding gear decides to not fist your ass, and you will be able to enjoy your chosen playstyle. Okay, TLDR of the league. What is it? Maybe you don't keep up to date with Path of Exile news and all that stuff on a week-by-week basis. You don't follow the Reddit, whatever. So I'll just tell you, it is call it like an alternative leveling system outside of like your character ascendancy, all those skill trees. It's a separate leveling system for your weapon and your offhand. If you guys ever played a game called World of Warcraft, right? In Legion League, they had these legendary weapons that kind of had like skill trees tied to the shape of the weapon. It's kind of like that, okay? You'll see it on the screen up here. I'm just playing some background footage of the trailer and the announcement video, and you can see kind of screenshots of it, right? It's very simple at the beginning because when you look at it, it's only a few nodes, right? It's like kind of like a Diablo 4 skill tree. First two nodes are like, oh, you have to take those nodes, and you might have an option for choice 3 or 4 to take whatever node you want. The power of these nodes is actually pretty crazy, and we haven't even seen all of it. We have only seen a few screenshots and a few mouse overs on the landing page for Crucible, and basically you can imagine it's some kind of like recombinator action where you're combining things like an incubator, which is how you level up the points and get the points on your weapon. And you're combining things like support gems. You can we've seen support gems on there. We've seen things like more damage multipliers, like Fizz is extra. We've seen things with charges, right? Duration, how to get the charges on your character, stuff like that. So it's gonna pretty much run an entire range of damage to utility to defenses, everything you can pretty much think of. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a system where something that we haven't seen yet is just completely broken. Even the best crafted weapons, it'll put them into like the next mirror tier, right? You have a mirror item, but then you have a mirror item that has a really good skill tree, and that's like 2 or 3 or 4 mirrors on top of the mirror that to pay for the good item. One downside of that is that you're probably not going to be crafting your own weapon, which is unfortunate, right? Because who, besides like people that use unique weapons, that can use the system, we'll get into that later, whoever like crafts their own weapon, unless you're still self-found or something. A rare bow, a rare weapon it's just so much more efficient and so much easier to buy it from the trade website. When you buy that weapon, you'll probably just be stuck with whatever nodes you get, and then if it's like the first version of the item, you can maybe combine a skill tree onto that if you are lucky enough to find another one of the same base. So let's talk about some good stuff about the league, right? Because there is a lot of good stuff. First of all, secondary progression systems, right? I love these, right? I've always said on my stream that if I'm ever not playing Path of Exile and I'm playing a different game, if that game doesn't have a skill tree in it, it'd be better with a skill tree. I think every game would be way better with a skill tree in it. I love getting skill. Like you level up, you gain a skill point on the massive skill web. You finish your Atlas, right? You get all 130 something points on your Atlas. Oh man, now you know that every map you run is getting the full efficiency of like what you've worked for. Maybe even things like, you get your 8th ascendancy node, right? So you go to the Uber lab, you get all the points for your character, and now you kind of feel like a god. And that's the same feeling that I kind of get with this, right? Like you pick up a weapon, it's like, oh boy, what kind of nodes is it gonna have, right? What are we gonna do with this weapon? Is it gonna be good? Is it gonna be like something that we just instant vendor, or is it gonna be something that I can like trade to someone, right? Because the items only really have value if you can trade them to people. They'll sell weapons that they don't want to gain the XP for, right? To get an item at the end. So all these different systems, whether you're just a casual Annie who wants to kill some monsters, level up your weapon, get a little bit extra power, or you want to like really min-max or super hardcore, or you're just a trade Annie and you want to make money off this. I think there's going to be a nice ecosystem there where there's something for everyone. Another thing is there is a system where you can combine 2 skill trees from the same weapon type to make a better skill tree. So let's say one weapon has a fork on it and the other weapon has like a GMP. There's a chance that you could get maybe a combination where you get those 2 support gems. So now you have a weapon, maybe it's a 6-socket 6-link with 2 support gems. And that's only 2 nodes, right? You can have tons of nodes on here. So now you have like a free 8-link weapon. How crazy is that? So that hunt and like trying to jamba the RNG in your favor to make the perfect weapon will be pretty intense. And I imagine the people that offer mirror service for the really good items later on, they'll have a field day with this, right? There'll be so much opportunity, even for people who don't make those items, because you'll be able to sell good skill trees on a good base to those people, right? So you're not left out if you don't know how to craft. They also teased that there could be some like wet and wild combinations that we haven't even seen, right? Usually with these kinds of things, I take it with a grain of salt because sometimes there's like a trailer or like a video or something, and there's like a value of something or like a an affix that is shown and then it never makes it into the game, or it makes it into the game in like a nerf state. Like for example, the trinket from Heist, where it was like shown in like a 32% chance to convert something to a exalted orb, and then when it released, it was like 4%. It's like, what happened there? What happened there? You guys hyped up, and now it's like it's not even in the game, right? So hopefully something like that doesn't happen. But these combinations are going to be crazy. I don't even think we know the possibilities yet, and I think we'll be figuring that over the first few weeks. So I'll be really excited to keep an eye out on the Reddit, maybe keep an eye out on the bug report forum in case there's some crazy OP stuff that they decide to take out, but they don't like reverse nerf, or they don't retroactively nerf the things that are already made. You got to keep an eye out for these things. It's kind of imagine like if you're in the woods in like Pokemon and there's like a Lopunny, but then there's also like a Gardevoir, right? And it's like, oh, I don't know which one, but then you could like combine them into a mixed Pokemon, and who knows what hear me out, guys, okay? Sheesh. Going on, the League mechanic also is tradable. It revolves on geodes, right? Geodes you can just think of as a map, but it sounds cool. Also, I don't know if you guys know this, but geodes are they're real life items. Like I touched one as a kid. So it helps with immersion and lore, right? You're like, oh, I know what a geode is. I can understand. It's the lore of like the titans that are like making these items. Okay, that's whatever. The geodes that are like these map items, you can trade them to players and you can freely run them as much as you want, because as long as you have the items on hand that you want to combine and you have the geode, you can run the content. A lot different than Sanctum, where you had to run 8 maps to get 1 floor. And then the opportunity cost of like running the maps, you had to skip. If you want to speed run, you had to skip the maps. And the maps were red because you had to do high tier maps to get good rooms. You were losing out on all the juice that was in the map. And maps were like 5 seers. So you're throwing away money to get the rooms. It didn't feel very smooth. It didn't feel very good. It took a lot of time. Even if you're a speedrunner, you had to like concentrate on it, right? So it wasn't good. I really wish that like every league mechanic you could trade to someone else. Okay, that's super important to me, because once again, items don't have any value if you can't like trade them, right? Like what good is running a cool Sanctum? What if I don't want to do that Sanctum that day, right? I can't even trade to anybody. It's just like lost. Nobody knows about that Sanctum, unless like you're streaming, that people can see what you have. But without like that actual tangible item that's tradable, I think the league is devalued. So great job on making these geodes possible to trade, so that people who want to do league mechanic only can do just that, right? And then also think about how people usually play this game. Whether you're a 1 week Andy or you play for 2 months, there's gonna come a point where you've kind of seen how the mapping is like, right? We've done mapping for years and years. Kill a bunch of monsters, and then like you get your loot, you trade it, you make your money, make a good build, right? But why do we keep coming back to Path of Exile every 3 months? Because of the new stuff. This is like, it's so new, it's cool. We want to see what's possible, like how can we push our characters. And so because of that, we want that focused dopamine. I want to run 100 geodes in a row and no maps if I want to, right? That should be an option for people, because that will make people play longer. And then in this game, unfortunately, even though it is kind of like a single player game, all right, with like trading and stuff, you do need a healthy economy, because like the moment it's harder to buy certain things or things don't exist, that's when you might quit the game, right? So for me, like I remember Lake of Kalandra, it was very hard to buy the tiles of Kalandra, which were incredibly rare, because it was already like a month or 2 in the league. So because I couldn't buy a high level tile of Kalandra, I could not craft my item and try to double the affixes on my item. So I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm not gonna just like sit here all day to run 2 Lakes of Kalandra or try to farm my own, because it's way too rare. So great job once again on League Mechanic being tradable, and it's gonna be nice to like share and like see all these like modifiers on the maps and be able to link it to your friends and stuff. Another thing is that there's like a little loot box filter. I like how they made it so that you have to right click on the geo to crack it open, right? It's kind of like, oh, what am I gonna get in this one, right? So that's kind of nice. I mean, it's a little something. People love loot boxes. People love the like reliquary keys, having to click on a chest and then seeing what you're getting, versus the item dropping on the ground. It says Divine Orb. You know exactly what you're getting, right? I know it's like a little bit of a jabba, but a little psychology there, but it feels really good. This content seems to be on a strand map, okay? So if you look in the videos and stuff, when people are fighting in the forge with like the giant statue guy, that is a very linear map. In fact, it's like smaller than like Phantasmagoria. It's smaller than like Beach, Tropical Island, these narrow like straight shot maps. And that's great, because you just go ahead, you're not missing anything else on the map. You've killed all the monsters. There's no doubt about like, oh, did I leave some stragglers? Oh, what if there's like a secret area over there? What if I miss a breach over there? What if I miss a ritual over here? There's none of that. It's just you go through it, you wind around, and then get to the big juice of combining the weapon. Okay, I really like that clean design, and nobody hates strand map. It's a little treat that it's no longer like, oh man, I gotta do this super annoying thing to do the content. Because like Sanctum, you did sometimes have to do some really annoying stuff to get to the content. Okay, it was man, some of these rooms, right, especially didn't get the good boons. Well, now it's like, okay, I get to do a strand map to experience the content. Yes, I'm all about that. I think it's going to be tied really closely to like time. If they can balance the amount of encounters and the amount of crucibles you need to actually get something worthwhile or to make it worth your time, then we'll have a fantastic league. Maybe one of the best. Because one thing I can see happening is like, what if it takes too long per like dopamine hit, right? What if it takes 20 maps to unlock one node, and then 20 more maps to unlock the next node? And then you're like, okay, then I gotta do that for one weapon, then I gotta allocate it for the next weapon because it has a higher chance of combining with those nodes if I allocate them. I can see the balancing of the time of play, how long you have to play to unlock every piece of the Crucible to be a little bit wonky, but you know, they're pretty good at like dealing with these things in the first week. So we'll see. And with enough feedback, they do change things very quickly. So we'll see what happens there. Now, in other news, not related to the Crucible, there have been a lot of changes to the game. Yeah, so a lot of things got nerfed and some things got kind of buffed, I guess, in a way. So let's talk about that, right? Like, I want to talk about some of the new stuff. So there's new whale skills, right? The corrupted gems. There's like 9 of them. That's going to be OP, right? Because like if you use the skill and there's a corrupted version, you're going to use the corrupted version because like for a few seconds, multiple times per map, you are going to do many times your damage, or you're going to have more clear speed. You're going to be faster. You're going to be, you know, more AoE, whatever. It's going to be crazy. So, you know, like I'm excited for like Firestorm. What else? I'm excited for even Absolution. It morphs your summon into something else. I'm not really a summoner, Andy, but for the people that are into that, sure, why not? You know, give them something to play with too. One thing though, I will say is some of these skills deserve, I think, a little bit more. So what I mean by that is like when I see something like Absolution and I see that they invested like this like animation and this like interaction with the gem and stuff, it's like, okay, that makes sense. But why can't we just do that for the skills that aren't so good, right? Like, why can't we have something for, because there's no like new skills. These are just iterations off of the old skills. Why can't we have that for things like maybe like split arrow or something, right? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of skills that will just never get used. You can go to PoE.ninja, you can scroll down the list of every league and be like, okay, these skills never get used. Maybe the excitement would be more if you would take a old skill that doesn't get used and make it like really OP or really cool looking, instead of taking skills that like we kind of know, like lightning arrow, people use that, Absolution, people use that, like, so maybe just this up with the less used skills. Another thing that I really do like in this expansion that's coming forward is the bow attacks are buffed. So everyone who plays the bow attacks, the best clearing builds in the game, and now the bows are gonna be way stronger. Okay, that's pretty crazy. Okay. Also, they kind of like change things around. One thing I do like is that they shifted power towards the early part of the league, and what I mean by that is like late game, if you played a bow build, you would have like +1 arrow on the synthesized bow. You would have +1 arrow on the quiver, and then it's like, oh wow, that's pretty good. That's really expensive, right? Like maybe hundreds of divines. Well, they took that off, so there's no more +1 arrow on the bows. There's no more +1 arrow on the quivers, and they instead put it on the skill tree. Now you could say, oh well, I mean, yeah, it's on the skill tree, but you got to spend points to get there. Well, yeah, but you know, you're getting it right away instead of having to wait for your second, third, fourth, you know, fifth character or whatever, and then farming like forever for it. So it makes all the casual players, or the majority of players, I'd say, able to get the spike in power faster and more reliably without having to, wait for someone to like craft the perfect bow, and you gotta save up your mirror and stuff like that. So that's great, right? And it's projectiles. It's not just arrows. It's any projectile. So that being on the tree like twice, I think, is just insane, right? I really like that. Also, new things in this patch, Atlas gateways. So now it's like if you want to go towards like your main node, let's say I want to do domination, I want to shoot towards Eater, and then it's like, oh man, the next thing I think is really cool and really fun is across the Atlas tree, and I can't spare the points to get there right now because it's be so many ways to travel points, and I might as well get these more efficient nodes, right? And I know that's a weird concept. You're watching this video, maybe you're a newer player, like, wait, so people just go for like the efficient stuff, and they sacrifice what they have fun with, and yeah, that's actually how people play the game. People sacrifice a lot of the fun in the game because something else is just so much more efficient. And I'm the same way, right? But now with the Atlas gateways, you can take the nodes you want and then instantly shoot to the opposite side of the map. And there's very few wasted points, and you can kind of try out new things that you couldn't put together before. For example, like I always felt that on the left, let's say there's this like area on the bottom left with like rogue exiles, right? And then I want to do more rogue, but it's like kind of really annoying to get down there. It's a lot of points. Or like on the left side, there's like a Shansei, I think, like the spirits one, right? And it's like getting over there, you're like, oh man, all the points, and you're getting like, when you take those little nodes, it feels like you're getting nothing, right? So great job putting on Atlas gateways. This will make, I think, everyone just have more fun with the game. So fantastic. Other things, CF is strong. So my league starter, one thing I'm excited about is I'm going to start with Corrupting Fever. And the reason Corrupting Fever is so strong is because it's so good at map clearing, but the single target is absolutely trash. It's so bad initially. So the buff to the skill Reap, right, with the corrupted version, the Whale Reap, will make my chosen starter build. So good job grinding gear. Okay, it'll make it a little bit less difficult to get my my watchstones. And then of course after that, the second build I want to do, Omni, right? Omni tornado shot just looks so good for farming the maps early on, right? That'll probably be a second build, and that got strong as well for the reason I listed a few minutes ago, right? More like faster and easier ways to get +1 arrow. Bows having a skill tree on them, right? Multiple skill trees if you combine them, like that's gonna be wow. It's gonna be a fun time. Your characters are gonna look pretty juiced. Okay, so on to some things that I guess aren't so good. Right? Are there any like other good things I need to mention before going on to bed? I guess like new uniques are always cool. Someone's gonna find something crazy with that. The Trickster and the Pathfinder changes are really cool. Like Trickster has like some cooldown reduction, and you don't even have to play Trickster because you just have to be a shadow and then you get a Forbidden Flesh Flame to get the 30% cooldown reduction. That's really cool. There's a lot of things in Path of Exile that work off breakpoints like that. So I like that they're giving more options. There's the little trigger bots that shoot the spells for you. Wow. I think that's going to lead to a lot of fun. Okay, the bad stuff. I guess the less than exciting stuff. So reading the patch notes, they nerfed all the reservation masteries that were tied to a specific aura. They just removed them, and they added a couple new. Some of them are relatively strong, actually. For example, there's like one where like you can't be brought below res from a curse. So like if you have Ellie weakness on a map, it doesn't affect you or something like that. So, I mean, that's cool. You don't have to gear for over res, right? You don't have to gear for the 100 and whatever res. You can just gear for 75 res. Totally fine, right? That's great. I think that when it comes to nerfs, grinding gear knows that everyone hates nerfs, right? It's like a meme at this point where it's like, oh man, I wonder what's going to get nerfed, right? Oh boy, another nerf cycle. And it's just like years and years and years of nerfs to the point where you're just like, okay, like whatever skill that's either popular or if it's not popular, if it's like strong, it will eventually get nerfed. And that's kind of a bad feeling going from league to league for people that only play for a week or two. They might want something reliable, right? And they're always going to play the same build in a different way because of the content coming out is different. So it doesn't just have to be, you don't have to like force people to just change the build. You're forcing them to do extra content, or it's incentivize them to play different parts and the new parts of the game. And if they don't want to do that, and people have chosen to play the exact same thing every single league, I mean, why not let them do that, right? So overall, a lot of these changes feel like, yeah, it's just like, it's a change without like a well thought out reason, you know? I'll give you an example. So like there's a change to Molten Shell, right? And Molten Shell is a skill where you are protected from damage, right? Based on your armor for a pretty long time. And it is strong. It has a longer cooldown than things like Sealskin and stuff like that, right? It goes off armor. And so you think like, okay, so if I have a lot of armor, it's going to protect me from a lot of damage. And they nerfed that because the percentage that you get from the armor and stuff is less. So why is that stronger than the other guard skills that they need to nerf it, right? And it's because like everyone uses armor. So it's kind of a problem of their own making where why do we all use determination? Because like physical damage in this game is just going to one-shot you, right? These mobs in the higher tier maps with the affixes and stuff, they hit really, really hard. Even the white mobs, not even talking about magic or rare arch nemesis mobs. The white mobs hurt so bad that if you don't use some kind of armor, for the most, like I'd say like most people use determination, okay? And some kind of extra form of physical reduction. If you don't use this, you will die all the time. Grinding Gear has essentially kind of like forced most players to consider using determination or if not using it, then getting armor in some way. And now, because of that, because we've been forced to get the armor, well, now it's too strong because of the Molten Shell, and so you have to nerf the Molten Shell. So it doesn't make sense. It's like this roundabout logic. Instead of like thinking, okay, well, why is this interaction happening in the first place in terms of like, why is everyone going so much armor, right? And you just fix that problem. Now, I don't know. I'm not game to that. These have like very far-reaching implications in terms of how the game is now, the speed of the game, like how you farm and what you farm and stuff like that. So look, it's not my job to solve these things, right? But there's got to be a better way than just blanket nerfing a lot of stuff. When it comes to reservation and like masteries and stuff like that, I think that masteries are pretty safe in terms of like the power you get for the investment. So usually along your path, you will have a mastery node that you for sure getting, okay? Whether that's on the left side of the tree, you have determination on those armor nodes because there's some really efficient, like you take the 2 points for the armor life and then boom, you have determination efficiency, right? Maybe on the right side, you got some precision action going on, 100% of precision, but you're not going to get like everything, right? So if I use like there's, I don't even think there's a node for hatred or something, but let's say I want to use grace, determination, precision, and then like something else. It's really hard to get all those. The mana reservation, besides the precision, which is a flat mana cost, I don't think that the reservation for some of the auras like determination and grace and things like that were warranted, right? Because they weren't that much. They like helped a little bit, but they weren't like that crazy. What they did instead is they moved the reservation into a global node, a global like mastery node from mana, which I don't think like anyone ever takes. I mean, I've never taken it, but maybe there's some mana Andes that want to take that skill. But you usually have to go like at least 4 or 5 plus points out of the way in order to get a mana mastery for most builds. And then you got to assign the mastery, which will give you, I believe, 12% mana restoration overall. Okay. With this, I guess if you're using multiple auras and you get some enlightened action and stuff like that, sure, it's fine, right? It's not actually that big of a deal. I don't think it's that big a deal. But why not like take that, right? Because you've already taken off like mana reservation stuff in the past, right? Why not just give that and slightly tune back the the specific aura ones? Okay, I don't know. It just feels kind of bad. So it's like overall early game, it is a nerf to defense, I think, which will make it a little bit rougher to shore up all your auras. And then late game, I don't think it'll really matter, especially once you get your enlightens and stuff, right? So maybe they're just pushing it out so you farm more in the late game. Another thing that I don't really think is that effective is the changes to Breach and Abyss. If you look at Abyss, you're going to see that it's good that you get a lich every single time, but most people find it kind of tedious to like have to follow like for the circles, and then you have to like do all this stuff and go down into the abyssal depths, which doesn't really have the map mods on it. So it's a little bit tedious. Upsides are like the spires, right? The guarantee like the belt and the jewels. And then of course, if you're guaranteed a lich, well, you have a high chance of Samurai's Eye and stuff like that. Overall though, it seems like it's going to be exactly the same system. Like most people don't like Abyss, so they just won't do it even with these changes. And then there was like, I don't think there was like really anything wrong with Abyss in the past. Like just because we went down and looked at a loading screen, does that really matter? Does that really matter? I don't know. It doesn't really incentivize people to do Abyss who weren't doing it before. And then the Breach is kind of the same thing. So when you look at it, because the Scarabs got nerfed and everything, you have less breaches that are more dense. So let's say you have like 3 breaches from before, and they all had 100 monsters, and let's say like the new one is one breach for 300 monsters. It's like kind of the same thing because you can tag multiple breaches, right? And because they made it faster, they said breaches open and close faster by default. But if you look at the Flash Breach node, Flash Breach was changed so that it's not the same scaling. So I think overall it'll be like it'll be close to even, right? Less breaches, but more mobs, and open and close slightly faster by default without taking Flash Breach. I don't know if this call is like a rework, like removing 3 breach stones. I mean, yes, some of the uniques did get changed. I don't know if this is just called a rework. I think it's just like more like pruning a little bit. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see like how good it is, because some of the values, the percentages that I showed in the patch notes were kind of like nerfed. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that, right? But it's just like when I think about reworks and stuff, right? I think what would improve the game the most, and I don't automatically think about leagues that I like. Okay, I don't think, okay, I like domination, and I like ritual, and I like essence, so they should buff those, yeah, because then I would have more fun. I don't really like think about that. I think about like all this development time that was put in. Is it good for the overall game? Does it make me excited in pretty much like all the places of the game that I'm going to be? So I'll give you an example. What if there was no Breach or there was no Abyss rework, but instead there was like maybe a rework to places that League mechanics cannot spawn? So I'm talking about like Delve, right? Delve is actually pretty cool. I like going down the Delve early league sometimes, upgrading the cart. You know, I now have a bear because I bought the supporter packs. Okay, yes, I bought the supporter packs. I bought the supporter packs before the first 2 weeks of the league because they got me. They got me. Okay, I wanted the bear. Okay, I know you're supposed to vote with your wallet. Wait until the 1 or 2 week mark. See if like the game is as advertised. There's not too many bugs and stuff. But you know what? Yeah, I'm only human. Okay. What was I saying? Okay. I think about when it comes to reworks, I think about places in the game where leagues cannot spawn. So everyone does maps and everyone levels, right? You kind of have to do these things. And so everyone's going to experience the league mechanic and old league mechanics as they're leveling, as they're just walking from point A to point B to get the story done. And then in their maps, right? There's going to be a breach there. There's going to be an abyss there. There's going to be a ritual there. There's going to be a Uber lab there. You're going to see a plethora of all these things. But what if you are the type of player, one of the players that makes the economy function, right? You're a lab runner, right? You're a delver. You're things that people that provide services or materials that are required for you to play the game. Okay, like the fossils, the resonders. I know like everything can come from multiple sources now. Like you could even say, well, you don't need the lab runners because you have a card that gives a different, that gives a helmet with an enchant or something, right? Whatever. What I'm saying is there are large groups of people who do things in this game where no league mechanics can spawn. And I think about it sometimes where I go, man, what if it could be every league mechanic could spawn everywhere? Wouldn't that be cool? Because I don't want to come to the conclusion one day that like I love lab and then I find out I can't also do lab with the league mechanic, right? That would suck. That would really suck. Or like delving, right? I'm trying to deep delve. Oh, that's a goal of mine. But if I deep delve, I miss out on the league. So essentially, I'm playing standard. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't want to play standard, right? I'm looking at the parts of the game that feel like standard, right, and are really tedious and like stuff like that, and I want to be more fun. So wouldn't like the development time be better off looking into these things instead of just taking one little league out of like 20? And then like changing that, and at least if you're gonna change that, make it in a way that like has something truly new. Maybe, okay, this is just an example off the top of my head. Maybe now with the breach rework, if you kill a breach mob, if you kill a breach lord, you have a 50% chance of transforming into that breach lord for the rest of the map and using their skills on your little hotbar. Abyss, you kill a lich, you have a chance where the lich infests you and he's like casting spells over you like some kind of mirage archer for the rest of the map until you zone out or die. Okay, I mean, things like this like would change how you play, and you'd be like, oh my god, like that's so cool. I want to try that out, right? Whereas things just like, there's a few more mobs and like like splinters or shit. This might be because I've just been playing the game too long. Who knows? Other things that seem a little bit awkward in the patch notes are things like, I guess like they didn't say anything about like trade. So how are we going to be able to like trade for these weapons? Like, is there going to be some kind of API, or will it be something that gets relegated to TFT? I really hope that you don't have to go to TFT and like find some system there, go to a different unofficial website to like find the seed of your weapon, because then like all these frictions together make it so that you just don't want to deal with the system, and then people are even more likely to just be like, oh, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna buy it. I'm gonna put all these things in a dump tab when I find them, and I'm just gonna buy the thing I need, right? Like, who cares? And that is that's something that does happen in a lot of these leagues, right? Where TFT just takes over the entire market for something, and it's like, and then for a lot of people, the thought of having to go to TFT, you just don't want to go there. Other concerns I have, I guess like the Crucible, the way you level the weapons, you need the weapon either in your main hand or your offhand. So that's weird because most people level gems in their offhand. So what happens when you have the offhand and you put it in, and then it's not good, or it's like finished with a skill tree or whatever, and then you gotta go find a different weapon and make sure that those sockets are correct colors for the new gems that you want to level up, because you're gonna be leveling up gems, right? Or what if like earlier you had the stats for the item, but then now you don't have the stats for the item, and so you can't equip the item again to be able to put into the forge like a stat thingies. There's a lot of like friction and clunkiness there that I feel like isn't just solved by like letting you do it in your inventory. Because if you have to do it in your inventory, well, now your valuable inventory space is taken up by like this God forbid, a 2x4 item, right? Some massive two-handed weapon, or like a couple like two by threes. It's just like it's such an awkward system in the sense that like maybe they should just give you a storage, right? Why not just have a storage? Because Expedition had its own storage, Heist has its own storage, want to have a storage where you can put like maybe like 10 or 20 items, and then when you get to the Crucible, you pick from one of those items, put it into the Crucible, and then none of your inventory is touched, none of your offhands is touched. It's not clunky, right? We're used to dealing with separate lockers from previous leagues, and I think that'd be pretty cool. And that's about it. I mean, yeah, that's all I got. Overall, I'm kind of hyped. Other things in the patch notes aren't like too big a deal. I don't know. I think it's gonna be a great league, and I think the power creep and the builds are gonna be insane. In terms of like, I was surprised that like more stuff didn't get nerfed. Poison lost some duration, whatever. I never thought of poison. Poison's like caps itself, I guess, and it never was like that instant hit damage like the Omni stuff was. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I think. So until next time, if you made it this far, like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Tell me in the comments below if I'm a Papiga and none of the stuff that I said made sense, or tell me if you're excited about the league, whatever. Also, I'll be trying to make more videos, right? Because I'm excited about this coming league. I haven't played PoE in like a couple months now, so I will try to be more consistent with the videos. And thanks for watching. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys in the league. Bye-bye. Bye, guys. Bye.